If I could sit across from the version of me who found out she was pregnant 9 years ago, excited, terrified, and convinced she had to figure it all out quietly, I would tell her a few things I didn't know then, but desperately needed to hear. My name is Mercy. I've been a mother for 9 years, married for 9 years, raising 3 girls in an intercultural home. I'm also a certified positive parenting educator. But none of those titles prepared me for the emotional, spiritual, and nervous system work that motherhood would require of me. Motherhood didn't actually start the day I held my baby. It started the day my body became a home. That day, something shifted. My identity, my priorities, my brain, my nervous system, my marriage, my faith, my childhood memories. And slowly, motherhood became not just what I did, but who I was becoming. Today, I want to share 5 things I wish I knew sooner. Not because I've mastered them, but because knowing them earlier would have saved me from so much unnecessary guilt, fear, and loneliness. When I first became a mother, I thought good behavior meant quiet, compliant, agreeable, and easy. And when other people praised those traits, it felt like a proof that I was doing well. But here's what I learned over 9 years. Children behave better when their nervous system feels safe. Not when they are yelled at, not when they are threatened, not when they are shamed, not when they are forced to perform obedience. Safety creates cooperation. Connection creates influence. What neuroscience calls regulation, the ability to manage emotions and impulses, doesn't come from fear. It comes from co-regulation, which happens through connection. That's why kids often melt down at home after being calm all day in school or the park. Home is where they feel safe enough to unravel. As mothers, we often misinterpret that unraveling as defiance, when it's actually trust. I used to say, why is she like this with me? But science says, because you are her safe place. I wish I knew that earlier. It would have replaced my frustration with more compassion. Another thing I learned is that your triggers are not caused by your child. They are caused by your childhood. I remember the first time I heard my own voice yelling, and the sound felt familiar in a way that scared me. I sounded exactly like someone from my childhood. And afterward, I sat on the bathroom floor crying. Not because my child misbehaved, but because I didn't recognize the mother I had become. Motherhood awakens the parts of you that were never nurtured. The parts that were silenced, the parts that were rushed, the parts that were shamed, the parts that were ignored. So when our children have big emotions, it collides with the little girl inside us who never learned how to express hers safely. That's what gets triggered, not the behavior itself, but the memory. Psychology calls this the inner child. Faith calls it the heart. Neuroscience calls it the limbic system. Different languages, same truth. Healing in motherhood isn't about never raising your voice. It's about recognizing where it comes from so the cycle stops with you. If I could go back, I would tell myself, Mercy, you're not losing control. You're being invited to heal. I also wish I knew that marriage after kids is not failure. It's recalibration. No one prepared me for how much children would change the dynamic of a marriage. You go from romance to logistics, from late night conversations to surviving off naps, from date nights to dividing tasks, from how was your day to can you hold her while I'll cook? And when you're in an intercultural marriage like mine, you're not just navigating personalities. You're navigating two different childhoods, two different conflict styles, two different definitions of family, two different ways of expressing love, two different expectations for parenting. Motherhood and marriage collide with cultural programming in the most unexpected ways. Then you add exhaustion, postpartum hormones, sensory overload, and the financial pressure of raising children. And suddenly, every small misunderstanding feels so personal. It took me 9 years. 9 years to learn that most arguments after kids are not moral failures. They are nervous system collisions. One partner is overwhelmed, the other is confused. Both are tired. Neither knows how to say, I need comfort. Marriage after kids isn't evidence that you fell out of love. It's evidence that you're learning how to love in a harder season. also learned that motherhood has seasons, and each one asks something different from you. The pregnancy season asks for surrender. The newborn season asks for protection. The toddler season asks for patience. The preschool season asks for guidance. The early school season asks for understanding. And each season brings grief no one prepares you for. The grief of losing your old identity. The grief of friendships that drift. The grief of feeling unseen. The grief of falling behind. The grief of changing dreams. We think we're failing because we can't do it all. But the truth is, we're not meant to be everything in every season. Even Proverbs 31 wasn't a single moment. It was a lifetime. There is a time to build, a time to rest, a time to learn, a time to heal. Motherhood is holy. But holy doesn't mean polished. Holy means set apart, even on the messy days. And finally, mothers need comfort, not just instructions. If I could change just one thing about how society treats mothers, it would be this. We are drowning in advice and starving for support. Older generations tell us to toughen up. The internet tells us to do better. Parenting books tell us to be consistent. Instagram tells us to stay calm. Meanwhile, mothers are self-deprived, overstimulated, under-supported, anxious, lonely, carrying emotional labor, and cycle breaking silently. You don't need more, just do this. You need someone to say, you're not broken. You're overwhelmed and you deserve comfort too. Even God comforts His children before He corrects them. And if the God of the universe leads with compassion, maybe mothers deserve that too. So, if you're in the thick of it, exhausting, crying in the bathroom, grieving who you were used to be, or terrified you're messing everything up, here's I want you to know. You are not behind. You are not failing. Your children do not need a perfect mother. They need a present one. Motherhood exposes you. Motherhood sanctifies you. Motherhood heals you. Motherhood teaches you how to love with your whole being. And one day, 9 years from now, you will look back and realize you were doing holy work all along. even on the days that felt like survival. If this resonated, remember you're not alone. There is a whole generation of mothers doing this hard work with you. Thank you for being here. I hope this brings comfort to the next mother who needs it. See you in the next reflection.